What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Now, with the Revenant episode here, we got some juice inside of the Stasis subclass, as well as just the Prismatic in general, taking advantage of the Stasis side of it, but we're going to take you through a Hunter build using the Renewal Grasps, which give you some pretty juice to the Dustfield grenades, as well as Frost Armor, almost consistently with this build as well. So we got, first off, the exotic perk on Renewal Grasp right here. Our Dustfield has a larger effective radius. Also, allies inside Dustfield gain Frost Armor. Targets deal less damage inside of that little bubble that it produces as well. So very good combo with less damage being dealt to you, as well as Frost Armor does feel very nice with resilience aspects and keeping you alive. Now, when we move on to our Stasis subclass that we're going to be using, obviously we got our Silence and Squall. For me, I went with Gambler's Dodge so we can get back our Shuriken and Withering Blade. Triple Jump for me in the PvE realm almost exclusively, as well as our Duskfield Grenade, of course, which slows freezes targets. And with that Renewal Grasp, we're getting a bigger AoE aspect to it. For our aspects, we're going to be using Grim Harvest, so defeating slowed or frozen targets creates Stasis Shards for us. These will grant us melee energy when we pick them up. On top of that, when we pick up Stasis Shards, it's going to give us stacks of Frost Armor, which on top of what we're getting from the grenade, like I said, we're going to have Frost Armor up at ×8 all the time with this build because of the Stasis Shards that we're creating, plus the amount of grenades that we're going to be able to throw out with the combination of this build, Fragments, etc. The second aspect is Touch of Winter. This adds to our Glacial Grenade with an increased size, as well as creates a Stasis Crystal on impact, which for me, you could go with this or the Dodge to Slow. Totally up to you, but I like having that extra AoE effect of the grenade. It stacks with Renewal Grasp, plus we get that nice big little center crystal, if you will, that'll help us to create even more Stasis Shards, and then just feeding into that positive feedback loop that we're trying to create. Now, when we move on to our Fragments, first one is just adding the stacks and the duration of Frost Armor that we can have, having it at ×8, and it lasts for about 15 seconds. Like I said, we're getting it from our Stasis Shards as well as our grenades, so we're gonna have that pretty high all the time. Whisper of Shards, shattering that Stasis Crystal temporarily boosts grenade charge rate. Shattering additional Stasis Crystals increases this benefit. One of the reasons why I'm using that Grim Harvest up top to give us a Stasis Crystal at the center of our grenade. Next off, Whisper of Conduction, so all those Stasis Shards that we do create are going to track to us, allowing us to again get that Frost Armor, get our melee back when we collect them, and it just adds so much to the build. Next off, damaging a target with our Stasis melee. Reload stored weapons, grants temporary boost to the ready speed, so super nice with double Shuriken as well as Gambler's Dodge. We're going to be able to reload all of our weapons very consistently, and we're going to get grenades back very fast because of the perks we have on our weapons. And then last but certainly not least, right here, Whisper of Chains, defeating targets while we have that Frost Armor creates even more Stasis Shards for us. So adding to that feedback loop that I said, this build is all about having that Frost Armor, getting our grenade back, and creating Stasis Shards, so then we can collect that again to get our melee back, and a couple things on our artifact actually make it even more juicy for Stasis Shards. But even without the artifact in future seasons, gonna be absolutely disgusting with just using the grenade as well as those Stasis Shards to have the insane armor resistance that we get from Frost Armor and everything in that aspect with our melee regen and our internal feedback loop. Next aspect of this build is Resilience, Recovery, Discipline for our triple 100s. I would probably build this build out for Resilience and Discipline as your number one, with Recovery as your last one, just so you can get that health back very quickly with this build, even though with that Frost Armor and 100 Resilience, it's going to feel like you're an absolute tank. For me, I went with Special Finder as well as Heavy Ammo Finder for a few different reasons we'll cover in a second. My weapons both have demo on them, so I wanted that to get my grenade as fast as possible with Harmonic Siphon, so all of our stasis weapons going to create orbs of power for us. We're using that orbs of power to have the armor charges so we can get grenade Kickstarter to proc. Again, just another way that we can get our grenade back even faster. We're going to have a bolstering detonation, so it grants us class ability when we cause damage with that, which it's a consistent damage output in that slow and freeze with fastball, just like having this on my builds. For me, I went with arc resistance as well as harmonic resistance. You can switch this out depending on the content you are going into. Charge it up so we can have that extra number of armor charge stacks, so grenade Kickstarter does even more energy refund when it gets procced. Absolution, orbs of restoration, recuperation. We're going to get health back when we pick up orbs. A little bit of our least ability energy, as well as all of our abilities are going to get some show, just adding to the ability spam of this build with our melee to freeze targets, as well as reload our weapons, as well as that grenade internally. Then we're going to have a Reaper to create more orbs of power with us, double bomber, so when we do dodge as much as we are, we're going to get even more grenade energy back. So you can see why that internal feedback loop of causing a damage with our grenade gives us our class ability, causing damage with our melee is going to refund our class ability. It's just so nice, and we're getting freezing everywhere, stasis shards everywhere, feeling invincible with that frost armor as well. All right, now when we move on to our weapons, we got some very fun ones that everyone can get. We got Fair Judgment, which is actually the ritual weapon from this season. I really like this auto rifle. Has some pretty good combinations of perks for PvP as well as PvE. Having that Rhyme Stealer right here, destroying stasis crystals, defeating those frozen targets, grants us improved amount of frost armor, so adding to the survivability of the build, as well as creating even more of those stasis crystals for us, which will again proc Rhyme Stealer, give us even more of those stasis shards so we can get our melee, give us that internal feedback loop, which is nasty. Dead Messenger right here, I have it crafted with that Demolitionist on it, like I was saying, so all of those defeats that we're getting with this Breach grenade launcher is going to refund our energy so we can get that grenade to proc and use our dust field, as well as right here, Demo Explosive Light on this Verse Chill Inhibitor. This thing is pretty good in my personal opinion for the damage output with Explosive Light and Demolitionist. Again, defeats give us grenade energy for Renewal Grasps. Plus with this build, damage output, a little bit in the gameplay right here, you can see we absolutely juice 8 shots at an enemy, hit our melee, refill that 8, juice the 8 more shots. So the damage output is pretty crazy that we can get with the combination of freezing targets, refilling with our melee, and using this grenade launcher to do some pretty good little damage, especially since grenade launchers are juiced this season. Last but certainly not least right here that we're going to cover for y'all is our Apothecary Satchel. In our artifact, we're going to be using our Breach grenade launcher for that overload champions, rapid impacts for those grenade launchers to gain temporary reload for that damage that we're dealing with both our exotic as well as our heavy. One with the frost, while frost armor is active, stasis weapons gain increased reload and stability. Super nice for the weapons that we are using. Wind chill, rapid precision hits with a stasis weapon grants us more frost armor. So again, another aspect that we're adding to giving us even more of that frost armor. Crystalline converter, gathering stasis shards, stacks stasis crystalline converter. Your next powered stasis melee creates stasis crystals equal to the number of stacks that we have. So with everything that we had with using those stasis crystals to give us even more stasis shards, refunding that internal feedback loop, crystalline, definitely super nice. We have the armor of Aramis, where when we do have that frost armor, which we will have almost consistently, like I said, when we do have damage taken to us, we're going to get a freezing burst. Hail the Storm, shattering stasis crystals, releases stasis shards that slows and damages. This is also super important for this build, or I should say it just adds another crazy aspect to it. Brain freeze with the frozen combatants. They are surrounded by a chilling fog that slows combatants that are already slowed. So again, just another way that we're adding slow and freeze to the playing field. Concussive reloader, causing damage to bosses, champions, or even breaking their shields will grant some weakening on them, which allows us to do more damage. And then severed cold. This is pretty sweet because all of those stasis shards is going to give us our class ability, which we will be able to use to dodge to get our melee back, which will freeze targets, reload our weapons. It is a wild little internal feedback loop that we can get with this build, causing freeze on enemies, slowing them. We can stun a bunch of different champions with this build. You can take it into really any type of content. The new ritual weapon in that Fair Judgment is actually super fun. There's going to be a review video on it, I believe, this Friday, so be on the lookout for that as well. But this build, definitely super fun, super easy for everyone to take in. It's stasis based, revolves around the Renewal Grasps, as well as just juicing the playing field with those grenades and causing some havoc on your enemies, giving you as well as your fellow guardians some frost armor at ×8 as well. So love this build, love the survivability, love the ad clear ability of it, as well as the DPS side of it. So hunters, definitely check it out. I appreciate all you guys for coming back and checking out the channel, all these builds that we got going on. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe to the video. Helps me out, helps out the channel, as well as slap that bell so you miss out on any of these videos. You get those notifications when I post. Very nice little aspect of the YouTube side of things right here. We also got a Discord if you would like to join that on top of it, so you can get updates there, as well as we like to have a little bit of LFG in there if you're looking to go through and crank out some content. So again, appreciate all you guys for coming back to the channel. It means a lot to me. Again, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.